Hi. In this screencast I'm going to demonstrate a pretty quick way of achieving a kind of splattered paint effect. I used something like this for a couple of wallpapers, and I've had several requests asking how I did it. It's really a blatant ripoff of something Heathen X did back in episode, I think it was 59 of our, you can find that on our site. But I'll just go ahead and show it. It's a pretty quick one. I haven't done a screencast in a while. I figure this is a good way to, kind of a nice easy way to get my toes back in the water. So I'm also doing this on a new laptop that I have, so forgive me if things seem a little glitchy. I'm still trying to get the setup right here for screencasting. I don't have the key status monitor working yet. I had it working the other day, and for some reason I've screwed it up. So I thought it's not that important for this one. It's pretty short. But trust me, I will get that back up and running soon, hopefully. So here we go. I'm going to start off with a default Inkscape window, and I'm going to use the cgtextures.com site to get my, this is where I get the textures from that I use. I've already downloaded them, but I'll show you just the site here. I'm going to use, first of all, a kind of crinkled plastic or paper texture as my background. And I think I found it under plastic. Could be. Let me just see here. I think it was under packaging. This is the one, I think, this set here. I chose one of these two. I think I chose this one on the right. But anyways, so that's what I'll use as my background. Now, as splatter-wise, you know, for an ink type of splatter or something, paint splatter, they have lots of different options here. Under this list at the left, you'll see splatter. Under that, again, you can choose all different types. I think I chose splatter again and circular, and you get these types of patterns. Okay, and they're just JPEGs usually that you'll download. Okay, and you'll have a choice of a variety of sizes. If we chose this one, for instance, you can have different types of resolutions depending on what you need for your project. So we will go back out of here. I've already downloaded, like I say, the textures I want, and I'm just going to drag them in here. My background, is here. Okay, and now the splatter I'm going to put onto that background is here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take this bitmap that is the splatter, and I'm going to convert it to a path. So I will have it selected and choose path trace bitmap. Excuse me. You'll also hear a laptop is a lot more quiet than my desktop. However, I've had some problems with hum on the sounds, and this little Minnie Mouse I bought for the laptop is extremely loud as far as clicking goes. So you'll probably hear a lot of that in the background too. Sorry about that. So anyways, I've got my trace bitmap here. My bitmap is selected. I'm going to use the brightness cutoff, and I'm going to up that to probably, I don't know, 0.9. I'll update it. That's pretty close. Hard to tell in this little thumbnail, but that looks pretty good. I'll click OK, and it is now converted. I can get rid of the original bitmap if I like. So here's the bitmap we're going to use. I may also put some text in here, so just for added effect you can do whatever you want, but let's just put some text, say Inkscape. We will bring up the text and font dialog when that's selected, and I haven't got a lot of fonts on here yet, but I'm going to use this one that I picked out. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just make it lighter so I can see it. I am going to do something like this, and I'm going to take, so this is the text, could be whatever color, doesn't doesn't really matter. I'm going to do a difference between these two. I'm going to take this, turn that object into a path. I'm going to select the back ink spot, hold Shift, left click the text path, and then I'm going to do path difference. Okay, so now I have a hole in my ink blot here formed by the text. Okay. Now, how do I get this text? You know, we could just stick it on here and it would look okay, but not really realistic. So what I'd like to do is use a mask to kind of give this ink spot kind of same texture as this paper. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to take this bitmap and duplicate it. Okay, Control D to duplicate it. And really there's a couple ways you can do it. I like to turn this into kind of grayscale or monochrome version. Now you can do that right in Inkscape by selecting that bitmap, saying Effects, Raster, Modulate. You make sure the saturation is 0. Brightness, I don't know, we'll try something else. Let's try 80. And we'll click Apply. And you see you get kind of a gray version of it. That's really not I don't like that method as much. There's not much control there. So what I do is I like to open this in something like the GIMP, and I'm going to do that quickly here and show you how I create this texture. You may not see. Let me see if I can shrink this down a little bit. So what I normally do when I convert anything, and this goes for photos, is kind of a dual tutorial I guess, is to convert to black and white with a fair bit of control. I use in GIMP the colors menu, components, and the channel mixer. And Photoshop has a channel mixer. It's very similar. What you do to convert to monochrome is click this little box. It says monochrome, and then you can adjust these sliders. The idea being you can use any value for these sliders, but you want the total of these three numbers to be about 100. It doesn't matter if you're exact, but if you go way off of 100, the results won't be as realistic, especially if you're using a photo. With the texture, it's fairly simple, but you can do this to good conversions of color photographic images into black and white and get very good control. So you might want to try that on your your regular photos too. Just a handy tip. Here what I'm going to do is I'll bring that back down to 0 or close to it. I'll try the green, see how that looks. Kind of dark, not so bad. If I bring this up to 100, it's very dark. So what I'm going to do is actually take we'll take the green up to 80, and we'll probably leave the red down. We'll just bring the green up to somewhere close to 100, something like this. Okay, I like that a little bit better than what we had just doing it in Inkscape. So we will save that. I had done one before, so we'll call this BW2, black and white 2. Save it. Okay. But like I said, you don't have to use the GIMP to do that. You can use whatever you want. So we'll get rid of this duplicate we made, and I'm going to bring in the let's see, that one there that we just made. So there it is here. Okay, I'm going to select the first one, hold Shift to select the second one, and bring up my Align and Distribute dialog box. I want to align the tops of these, make sure they're both in line. Okay. Next, I need to place I'll bring this ink blot up to the top, and I just want to place it on the black and white version exactly how I want it to be in the final product. So let's say we like that, everything looks good. Then what I do is I do two things here. One is a little trick. What we're going to do is mask this, and then bring that masked object over onto our original paper image. But if you don't get them lined up correctly, the wrinkles and crinkles and stuff in the texture aren't going to look right. They won't match up. So a quick and dirty way of kind of keeping things in line here later on and making it easy is I'm going to create a little circle, doesn't matter what size, and I'm going to align the circle with the left hand side of this black and white image. Okay, so we will do this, bring up the align and distribute dialog box and align the left hand ends of them. Okay, now this is in final position. I'm going to send it behind that. I'm going to window both of them, so both the ink blot and this black and white paper texture are selected, and I'm going to choose Object, Mask, Set. Okay, so there's our masked object. You can see the texture in it there, hopefully. Now, I'll hold Shift and select the circle 2, and I'm going to group them. Control G to group them. And now I can align this onto this image because I know the left-hand side of this circle has to be in line with this paper because I haven't changed the size of this through the whole process. So once this is selected, once that's selected, I hold Shift, select them both, align the left-hand sides. Okay. Now you can take this, you can ungroup it. Could delete that circle if we want, and we have our paper texture. Now, depending on how gray or how dark or light that image is that we used to do the masking, this may be too light for what you're trying to achieve. Okay, but everything's in line. See, this crease kind of goes along with the crease in here. So what I normally do is I just select that ink blot and hit Control D to duplicate it. Then it comes in a little better for what I want. You can do that as much as you want. Okay, so there you get a nice ink kind of spatter or splatter with the same textures that are underneath it. Okay, to match up nicely. So if you wanted to create a kind of creased paper look or a crinkled paper look, you can do that on concrete textures. I've done it on stucco, things like that. For computer wallpaper, it actually looks kind of neat. But the colors, and some colors won't go well. Obviously, if you take this, you could change the colors to whatever you want now. If this is still just a path, so if I wanted to change it to yellow, I could, and that's not very good. Blue, still too light. Now, the texture's still there, but it's too saturated to really look good. So what I find it works well, things like a fairly dark background, this crinkled paper, pick something a lot darker maybe. We could do that here probably by, maybe we'll make this ink spot, green. We'll select the bitmap, and maybe there's something in here under the raster menu. Let's see. We could do levels on it, probably. I don't know if there's just a simple darken. Let's see if we can just do levels. See what the live preview looks like. Eesh, I'm not going to use that. Let's try. Again, we could probably use the modulate on that original image. And let's just lower the brightness and see what it looks like. Yeah. So you can darken the image that way if you wanted to. I don't like it as much, but you can play with the image as well, both the color of the ink splatter and the image behind. You can get all kinds of neat effects. Anyways, I'll stop wasting your time with my fiddling, and that's it. Really quick and dirty way of getting a nice kind of splatter effect. I hope you got some use out of it, and thanks very much for watching.